Welcome to Mimi's Math Channel. Today I will discuss the trig ratio cosine and inverse cosine. So you've heard of the acronym SOHCAHTOA. C stands for cosine, A stands for adjacent, H stands for hypotenuse. First thing you want to do is change your calculator to be in degree mode. And in purple, you will see the actual formulas that you will use when you're trying to find the side and angles. If you're trying to find a side that provides you the adjacent and the hypotenuse sides of a right triangle, then you're going to use the trig ratio cosine. If you're trying to find the angle, which gives you those same two sides, then you're going to use the inverse cosine. Be careful not to try to use the 90-degree angle when you're putting the information into your formula. For example, 1, I want to first go ahead and identify my sides. Directly across from my right angle symbol is going to be my hypotenuse, and the angle that I'm working with is angle 21. What's next to it is known as my adjacent side. That is what my formula actually asks for. We're going to take the cosine of the angle that we're working with, which is 21, set it equal to the fraction or the ratio where adjacent is on top. So adjacent in this triangle is x and the hypotenuse in this triangle is 18. If I see that I have a number in the denominator, I'm going to multiply both sides by that number, 16.8. Now I want to find this particular angle. Well, hypotenuse is still going to be the same. It's across from my right angle symbol, but this time the adjacent side is what's next to the angle that I'm working with. So this is actually adjacent, and across from this is actually the opposite. So be aware of the angle that you're working with, because it will change your opposite and your adjacent sides. I'm now looking for an angle. I want to use the formula that's shown above. I'm going to set theta equal to the inverse of cosine, and my formula tells me to put the adjacent on top. So the adjacent in this case is 6.46, and my hypotenuse on bottom, which is 18. Once I put this in the calculator, then my answer is going to round to 69 degrees. And that makes sense because, again, if this is the same triangle, those two angles will have to add together to give me 90 degrees. So 69 plus 21 are in fact complementary angles. For example 3, I'm going to label my sides, and I see that my angle is 25. Next to it is my adjacent side, and across from my right angle symbol is my hypotenuse. So I'm going to just use the trig ratio cosine of the angle I'm working with is equal to adjacent, which is 3 root 2 over hypotenuse x. Now this time I have my variable in my denominator, so I just want to swap these two out, which will leave me with x is equal to 3 root 2 over cosine of 25. When you're entering this in the calculator, always do your trig ratio portion second. So if you're multiplying, put the number first and then your trig ratio. In this case, if you're dividing, put the number first and then your trig ratio. It simplifies to 4.68 if I'm rounding to the nearest hundreds. So I took that information, which was my hypotenuse, and I substituted it over here. So now what I'm trying to do is find this angle. My adjacent side is now next to it. My hypotenuse is still the same. Now I'm trying to find an angle, so I'm going to use the inverse of cosine. Theta is going to equal the inverse of cosine, but I still use the same formula, which is adjacent over hypotenuse. So adjacent is 1.98, hypotenuse is 4.68. I end up with 65 degrees. That's rounded. And like I said, this was already 25 degrees, and these are the same triangles. So that was 25 degrees, and so I need to find the complement, which will give me 90 degrees. So 65 plus 25 is 90 degrees. Please like and subscribe. Have an awesome day.